It's Wednesday, you guys know what that means. It is time for this week's latest live weekly event from Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown, and this week we do have winter celebrations. This one here is valid up until Christmas Day, 1 week from today. Are we ready to experience the magic of winter? With the weekly reward here, the first skin dropped from the game, and it's the Hong Kong taxi skin for the Bentley Continental GT, which suits me perfectly fine. You guys know I do use the Bentley quite regularly. So we have now had the first drop from the update for Season 2, and it is the skin for the Bentley GT Continental. So let's take a look what this week has in store. First of all, the first race, Let It Rain, a 5.9 mile 2-lap overcast asphalt race for the supercar hypercar category with a max RP of 950, and the title alone there, Let It Rain, tells us it's going to be a wet one, guys. Strap yourselves in for a wet supercar hypercar race. Over to the second one, From Dam to Dam, 4.3 mile 2-lap overcast 92% gravel 8% asphalt race from the cross country category with a max RP of 600. First of all, we can now see that the titles of these races are no longer live event race number 1, 2 or 3. They have titles. Fantastic. And this track I love. We'll cover that off shortly. But we'll start things off over with the Cozy Nest race, a 1.7 mile 3-lap night race on asphalt, and that is for the 2CV or the classic Beetles. With a max RP of 200, this will not be to everyone's liking. I fully understand that. Me personally, I love it. Jumping into cars we would not normally use, I am all for it, and I cannot wait to start off with the Cozy Nest race. So yeah, let's not waste any time, we'll jump into the Aston Martin and we will head on over to the first race for today. Before we do get there though, kind of a cry to help from some of the guys down in the comments that are playing Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown on PlayStation. What are your graphics settings? A couple of people don't have very good graphics. Obviously I play this on Steam. The graphics for me are absolutely fantastic. If you're playing on PlayStation, please let us know down in the comment section. Help each other out to get the best graphics in game. You guys can work that out between you, but we'll start things off today. We'll start off with the Cozy Nest race, of course, in the 2CV with our fantastic Brum livery. Tongue in cheek, some of the Americans, you might not know what Brum is, but it's the Brum livery, and we're not alone. We do have another racer here. We do have Nanaki Yamabushi in the grey and red 2CV. So we're going to look to beat Nanaki in this one. As we tail them coming up into the first couple of turns, we hang it round the outside of Nanaki. Hopefully he sees me here, it looks like he does, and we do manage to hang it round the outside here into our first tricky section for this race. As we move from asphalt to brickwork paving, this one does get very slippery, so take our time coming around that right-hander. Of course we took out a lamppost. It has to be taken out in races that I do. But as we can see, the 2CV does get very, lady here. That brickwork road is very slidey. Into this double right-hander again, take our time coming through that one. It does tighten on us very quickly. But already with just about a 2-second lead on the Naki, we're doing pretty good so far. We stay left at this roundabout as we come round that big sweeping right-hander where we, went round the outside of Nanaki on lap number 1, and we come back to that tricky braking section once again, not wanting to go wide, not wanting to overcommit onto that red brickwork pavement. Once again, it is very slidey. One thing I do want to note with the 2CV, I feel like something has changed with this one. I did go back, look at the build, look at the settings, everything is the way I had it. The only difference for this race particularly is the track suspension has been taken off to meet the requirements for the race. But it just feels different, the 2CV. I can't say why. It doesn't feel as fast. We can see the revs aren't bouncing off the rev limiter. Yeah, we're not off-road. It just feels different. I don't know if there's been a patch to the 2CV with the launch of Season 2. I haven't seen anything. You guys can jump into the 2CV and let me know if you think that this feels different. For me, it just feels different. But nonetheless, still having bags of fun with this one. This is why I love these weekly live events. Jumping into cars I would never normally jump into. This is how I found the joy of running the 2CV here. Having a blast so far, 4-second lead on the rest of the pack as we do push forward to cross out race number 1 and take the win in race number 1. And in that win, we did, of course, set the benchmark. The early benchmark with a 2-minute 2. Nanaki in that race actually set 2-minute 6, second place on the early leaderboard. The event's been out for about an hour and a half at the time of recording this, so yeah, it's a very early time. You guys can let me know if you managed to beat the 2CV time that I do set in this weekly event. I'm not saying I'm the best racer in the game, guys. I know I'm not. It's just interesting to see where you guys who are watching my videos are placing up against me in the live weekly events. But we'll head on over to race number 2 here, and this, in my personal opinion, is one of the best cross-country races in game, from dam to dam. And it's a little bit of a spoiler to what's coming tomorrow. Tomorrow's video is a cross-country race, and I know they don't do well on YouTube. I don't care. I love cross-country racing in this game. I think it's absolutely fantastic. It's tons of fun. And the spoiler here is the Lamborghini Urus. I bought it a while back. I never used it because I just couldn't gel with the car. But I spent a lot of time on the motocross style track over in Ibiza Island, tuning this one to the way I want it to be. And since doing so, I actually think this might be the best cross-country category vehicle in game. That might be an unpopular opinion, but for me, I now feel it better than the Range Rover Sport SVR and better than the Sentiero buggy. I don't like the buggy personally, but the Range Rover was my go-to cross-country vehicle. I now think the Urus is better. Actually done another couple of races up against the times I set in the Range Rover Sport, and I smashed them in the Urus. You guys, once again, can let me know, have you been using the Urus? And if you have, what's your thoughts? For me, I think it might now be my go-to cross-country car. Outside of the Jaguar F-Type SVR, although it's a supercar, on those cross-country tracks, it's phenomenal. Let's get back to the race. So a little shortcut there, we dive through the pole and the wall, get nice and close to that little static roundabout. Of course it's static, it's a roundabout. And the game mapping doesn't quite like us doing that. It does flash up that we're off track. Ignore that one, guys. It is the fastest way around that part of the track. From here though, we want to get the power down as quick as we can, work our way up through these gears. This is the fastest section of this track, and we want to straight line it from that corner, through this corner, over the crest of the hill, let the car settle down and get onto the brakes, preparing for this left-hand hairpin. A little bit of handbrake, down into second gear, get the power on nice and early, up into third, use the torque of the Urus to pull us out of that corner, and we've already got a huge lead on the rest of the pack. Flowing it through this big right-hander, let the back end step out, get the power down on the Urus, and the same applies to this right-hander, into the left-hander, across the bridge, onto the gravel, or the tarmac here, and we take out lap number 1, starting off lap number 2. Big left-hander, let this thing get nice and leery, nice and wide, let it switch back round to the right-hander as we get ready for our first 90-degree left-hander here. Once again, let the back end step out, use the torque here, shift yourself up into third, up into fourth. Let the torque of the Urus pull ourselves up the hill on this off-road circuit, letting the back end just step out, let it flow away from us, over the crest of this hill, straight onto the brakes, and cut that corner just a little bit so we can stay off that right-hand wall. We do get a little bit close for comfort there, the back end stepping out, but we're not doing too bad so far as we throw it round this big sweeping right-hander. Once again, get the power down nice and early, run this through fourth gear, a 23.8 second lead on the rest of the pack already as we prepare for the double left-handers right here. A little bit of handbrake once again, use the revs of this thing, bring it round the left-hander, cut through this little wall, lamppost section once again, nice and tight to that roundabout, and prepare for the right-hander here as we do look to cross the bridge. We just give that wall a little love kiss, but it's all good, not losing any momentum. Cut across the track here, but we do not want to cut this left-hander. We can see the two white boulders just there. They will stop you dead in your tracks. Stay away from those ones. Get on the power nice and early. Once again, the fastest part of this track. Stay nice and tight to the left here. Push over to the right. We actually get a little bit unsettled there, but it's the fastest way. Try to straight line that one. On the brakes once again. Get ready for this hairpin. A little bit of handbrake, power over, and we push forward once again up into third. Use the torque of the Urus. I've said it a few times, guys. Get through those gears nice and early. Let the torque pull you out of those corners. Round that right-hander was a little messy. We took a little bit of that right-hand banking, but it caused us all too much issues. We're about to cross the line. We're about to take the win here for race number 2, the cross-country race in the Lamborghini Urus. And once again, we do manage to set the early benchmark here with a 3 minute 44.05, just ahead of GR Pacuvius. I'm sure many of you guys will see his name on the leaderboards. A fantastically fast racer in-game, as is NL Replay in the Sentiero buggy. So we've actually set quite a good time there in the Lamborghini Urus. Now from there, we're going to push forward and we're going to get into race number 3. Fully unprepared for this one. We're in a rear-wheel drive Aston Martin with slick tires at this off-road point. We want to get off this as fast as we can and push up to the third race for today. It's actually quite a lot of fun playing about the supercars on this off-road part, but that's not for today's video, guys. We're going to push forward and we'll get ready for race number 3, which is the supercar hypercar race, and it's going to be wet. So it makes us think, what are we going to use? For me, it instantly became very obvious what I was going to use, guys. It's going to be no surprise to you all. It's the Huracan. I apologise if I've put out far too much Huracan content recently. I don't care. It's, for me, the best supercar in game, and it was the only one to choose for this race. Now, launching it offline, I do have the standard road tyres fitted to this, so be prepared, guys. It is wet, it is slidey, it's not downpour, but as we can see on the track, there is a lot of standing water. As we come round the big left-hander, we let the back end slide out here. Huge power slide all the way around this one, on and off the throttle, trying to control it. Cut back across the track, nice and tight, nice and slowly. We don't always have to be as fast as we can. Sometimes being slow and tidy is the fastest way, and I think that applies for this race in particular. Come downhill, we want to cut across this track to the left-hand side, being as cautious as we can, stealing a little bit of curbs there. We're getting a bit brave with the Huracan, and we will power this thing uphill, into the rights, into the lefts, touching on the brakes there. We kind of go a bit deep into that one. We don't manage to go off track though, which is all good. And we'll push this one all the way uphill once again. Right-hander here into left-hander, again being a bit cautious. We probably could have gotten the power a little bit earlier there, but we're doing all good so far. Big lead on the rest of the pack as we come up into the curving section right here, preparing for this left-hander, touching on the handbrake, let the back end slide down, get the power over, and push the Huracan out of that left-hander into this right-hander. It's very tricky, as it looks like it's going to tighten up, it looks like it's going to tighten up, and it never does. It just flows constantly round to the right-hand side. Push ourselves uphill to the first heavy braking zone. Right-hander getting unsettled on that inside curb. Coming around to the left-hander, spooking myself slightly with the lamppost, avoiding it. We're doing all good, guys. Get the power down here. Cautious round this point. Chances are you're going to fall off on the right-hand side there at some point, maybe even in your first attempt, like I did. But from here, we can get the power down and we can push ourselves towards the start-finish line here. Fully committing until we get to this point. I do lift, touching the brakes, stay tight to the left-hand side, and we can push through into lap number 2. Cautious again as we come round the first turn. We can see blocking up a little bit there, costing us, tapping that wall, guys. As we start to come downhill again, big power slide, let this one just flow all the way around the left-hander. I bail out of that almost 3/4 of the way around, again cut across the track, nice and tight to the inside. Power sliding once again, we can see just how wet and slippery this road surface really is here. Anything but a standard road tyre, you're not going to set a very good time in my opinion. A little bit brave on the right hand side, taking out a few curbs here. I don't know what's going on, guys. We're getting very brave with the Huracan on those curbs on a wet surface, but it's proving pretty good so far. We are setting a good time, going deep there once again, taking out our lamppost as we always do. We went very deep on that one. That could have ended very badly indeed. As we come uphill, left-hander into the right-hander, preparing for this left-hander once again, nice and cautiously round it, but we do get on the power earlier than we did in the previous lap, and preparing for our left-hander here once again. A little touch on that handbrake, let the back end of this thing flow around. The four-wheel drift that this thing's putting on is fantastic. And again, that right-hander, it has caught me out every time I have done this race. The back end actually stepping out and is there on the Huracan, but we'll get the power down here, up into our right-hander once again, a little bit tighter this time out. We are taking curbs, we're getting brave in the Huracan. Don't know why, guys, because I typically tend to stay away from the curbs in the Huracan, but in this race it's actually proving to be the fastest route. This left-hander, like I mentioned, guys, nice and cautious through it. We will end up down that banking if we're not cautious, but we can get the power down from here and push towards the finish line. Left-hander, right-hander, downhill, get prepared for that left-hander once again. We lift just a little bit here, get the power down nice and early, and that's a fantastic end to race number 3 in a Huracan. And it's not a clean sweep this time. Again, we can see Replay and GR Picuvius are right around us with a 3-minute 41, a 3-minute 43. We cross the line with a 3-minute 42. So the benchmarks are there. I'm probably going to spend some time later today and try and take first place. But we can see the event is now complete. Interesting, 150 points opposed to the usual 100 points. But we have now unlocked the Hong Kong taxi skin for the Bentley GT Continental. And here it is in all of its glory. Probably not one I'm going to don forever. I like the purple and gold skin that I have created personally, but we can see, you know, if these are the kind of skins we're going to get from the game, I like it. It's a nice addition, something we haven't had so far. You guys can give me your thoughts on it. Is it something you're not interested in, or is it a nice little touch? Let me know in the comment section down below. Interesting that nothing's changed on the inside. It would have been good to see the taxi radios and a sat nav and things like that. But you know, we can't ask for everything. Overall, I feel it to be quite a nice touch, and overall I feel that this weekly event has been a huge one. Fantastic variety of races, fantastic variety of cars, even though 2 of them were Lamborghinis. You guys get the gist. I love the weekly events. I'm so glad they're still here. Interested to see what happens next week. Of course, Christmas Day is next Wednesday, and Wednesday is typically when, well, Wednesday is when these live events drop, so it's going to be interesting if we get one on Christmas Day. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Please let me know everything we've kind of discussed in the comment section down below before you leave. Like, subscribe, all the usual good stuff. Yeah, stay tuned for more content on Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown.